Well, good morning. That wasn't the plan. For some reason, the intro that was supposed to play didn't. Instead, I got something completely different. So apologies for that. I'm just going to make sure that we're live over on Instagram. I think they may have missed the turmoil that just happened. No idea what was happening there. I do need to get rid of my name on the screen because I think by this point we all pretty much know who we are. Let me just have a look. Where does that live? I don't actually know where that lives. Doesn't matter. I'll leave it there for now. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My apologies for the chaos there. I do have an opening message, which I'm going to play for you now. For those of you that are just arriving, probably just as well, because things went horribly wrong when we first started. I don't know what caused that, but good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Cold one this morning, so I hope you're all wrapped up if you're outside working. And if you are outside working, stick around. We've got something coming up in the not too distant future that I would like to tell you about. Jim Turner has just joined us over on the main part of the show. Good morning, Jim. How are you doing? Mr. Modular himself, Jim Turner's here. Over on Instagram, Gomez Andres is here. Trucker Mark is here as well. Black Shaka is here. Fabian Bolita is here. Lots of people over on Instagram, all rattling through the chat. So good morning to you, one and all. Jim, you probably missed the chaos. Press the play button for the intro. Got the wrong one. Don't know why that happened. Uncle Zogs. Uncle Zogs, that's a great name. Over on Instagram, just said, how are you doing? I'm doing great, thank you, Uncle Zogs. I'm assuming that you are a man, given you're an uncle. Uncle Zogs, good morning, sir. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Loads and loads of stuff to get through this morning. Jim Turner, I've got a follow-up question to this. Jim Turner says, the windows are open, but the heater is on. Jim, tell me, you're wearing shorts today, aren't you? I bet he is. I don't know how he does it. Bearing in mind, I haven't actually left the house this morning. I actually came down with, I'm in a centrally heated house. I came down this morning, put a heater under my desk to warm my feet up. That's how I'm doing. Peter McKenna is here as well. Good morning, Peter. How are you doing? We had the strangest conversation yesterday. With Peter over on our WhatsApp group. Peter is currently under the weather, went to the hospital, was put on a nebulizer to sort out his breathing, and was sent home to what the hospital called a virtual ward. What in the name of sanity is a virtual ward? Is that just get out of our A&E department and leave us alone and we'll phone you every once in a while? Is that how a virtual ward works? Peter says he's got a chest infection. Chris Ford says, good morning, everyone. It's a bit fresh. It is a bit fresh. Yeah, it absolutely is. Mark Whiting is here as well. Morning, Mark. Good of you to join us. Who have we got here? Florian Surrey over on Instagram. Paoloni is over on Instagram as well. Instagram very busy this morning. I don't know why that is, but... And apparently, yes, that is absolutely the way the virtual ward works. Get out of our A&E department, go home, and we'll phone you from time to time. And between us, we will refer to that as a virtual ward. Mick says, morning all, hound tiptoeing on his walk on the mud chute. Wow. And Alex Latham is here. Well, now that Alex Latham is here, I think we can probably start the show. Bit of a disastrous and chaotic start to the proceedings, but I think we're back on track. So what say I roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. And this is how you know it's cold. Never mind your ISO bars and your barometric pressures and stuff. It's so cold out that Jim Turner is not wearing shorts, joggers, and even a couple of jumpers too. Yeah, there is the ultimate test of how cold it is. If Jim Turner starts wearing long trousers, it is parky out there. Peter McKenna says, there's an app, you put your details on it, and they call you and repeat what you put in the app, and they say, fine, take care, we'll ring you tomorrow. You may as well just go home and take care of yourself at that rate, shouldn't you? I wish I could get rid of my name on the screen. That does look very, very strange. I'm sure I have the capability. I just can't remember how to do it. Let me get rid of that and get rid of that. Is it in styles? It is in styles. My apologies. I was in the wrong part of the screen. Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 8th of January, 2025. It is still 2025. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, Develon, a full-line manufacturer, which they're about to prove. Hexagon is encouraging the women of the construction world, and we're looking back at 2024 through the lens of Norwegian contractor, one of my personal favourites, AF Gruppen. Plus, in my morning monologue today, I'm going to be talking about why the industry, the nation, and the world needs to unite to fight the common foe of climate change. All that to come. Plus, a sneak preview of something that we're working on with the fine folks over at Craic. There's a new podcast coming. Let me just make sure I've got everything there. Mick Ayres was walking in a full-length paddy coat, looked like an oversized cock in a condom. That's kind of how I look most of the time, to be perfectly honest with you. Have a quick look at WhatsApp, Mark, when the video is playing. I will do that, Peter. You have my word. Actually, phone is behind me. I'll have a look at that in just a moment. So, yes, we've done all of that. It is time to bring you our mystery machine for today. Right back after this. Now, as per usual, I'm going to show you a mystery machine. You need to guess what it is. The only clue I'm going to give you is that, in my personal opinion, and this will not help you at all, but in my personal opinion, this is one of the best looking pieces of equipment on the construction equipment market, bar none. Oh, maybe bar one or two, but this, well, it's one of my personal favorites. Never driven one, but aesthetically, they don't come much better than this. That's what I need you to identify. I need a make and a model, if you would be so kind. Mick says, mind you, it's warm in California. Never rains in Southern California. Man, it pours. Garvin, Mostly Diggers, just popped up over on Instagram. Morning, Garvin. Good of you to join us. Thank you very much indeed for being here. If you've got any clues on what our mystery machine might be, please let us know. While you're figuring that out, now, have I actually done... I can't remember. Let me have a look. See if I can get the... question of the day. There you are. That's the question of the day, and I'm going to remind you about it just now. Yeah, our question of the day today comes from the quizmaster himself, Mr. Gary Muirhead, and his question is this: what fear have you overcome, or are you working to overcome? You can probably guess mine because you're actually watching it play out in real time. Public speaking used to be my greatest fear. You know that thing they tell you when you're doing public speaking to imagine the audience is naked? My fear of it was so bad that I imagine myself naked, which nobody needs to see. However, I've done a lot of public speaking over the years, always dreaded it, always hated it. But now, thanks to this show, I'd happily do a TED Talk tomorrow, unscripted and on a subject I know nothing about, which is more or less what I do here every day. You lot have been my therapy. I'm going to quickly pop over to Instagram. Good morning, Mark, you young demolition legend. Instagram live stream kept freezing, says Tristan Mays. My apologies. I'll give it a whack in a second, but I think we're okay now. Everything seems. I'm watching it over on my other screen. Seems to be going okay at the moment. So yes, what about you lot? Have you overcome a fear? Are you working to overcome a fear? If you have, and if you are, please let me know what that is. telling people to F off when they're talking about you haven't overcome that fear. You've never had that fear. You're more than happy to tell people. Well, you tell me that enough. I can't believe that's the truth. Mystery Machine. We've got a guess here from Mr. McKenna, who says he reckons it's a Sany SY35U. It is not one of those. And Peter, again, on the subject of our question of the day, needles. I'm still not fantastic, and I still have my moments, but I used to be that bad that someone playing with a syringe and needle 10 foot away, I'd faint. I'm not a big fan of needles myself. And I don't know why. You know, when you actually have a blood test or something like that, it's not particularly painful. It just you don't want things stuck in you, do you? If you get my drift. Tristan Mays says, my biggest fear, dying hungry and my wife. I've never met your wife. I'm sure she's absolutely lovely. And dying hungry, I can't see that happening ever. Garvin over at Mostly Diggers reckons our Mystery Machine could be a Euromac or a Case New Holland. It is not. Let me put it up on the screen again and show you a bit more. As I say, this is one of my personal... I'd like a model of this. If the manufacturer of this machine is watching, I'd like a model of this kind of there, so that people could see it in all its glory. I can't tell you who the manufacturer is because that would kind of give the game away. But if anybody from that manufacturer is watching, please get in touch. We're going to come back to all of that, question of the day and the Mystery Machine, a bit later in the show. But first of all, it is time for our daily news roundup, brought to you in conjunction with those fine folks at Crane Hub. Construction Inquirer is reporting this morning that Buckingham Plant Hire is quitting the heavy site machinery sector after 69 years in the market. The firm is selling off its 72-strong fleet of Caterpillar and Volvo kit to concentrate on light equipment through its Ace Plant brand. The sale will be held by Euro Auctions on February the 27th at the headquarters of Buckingham Plant Hire, right next door to the Silverstone Motor Racing Circuit in Buckinghamshire. And finally, construction buyers reported a loss of momentum at the end of 2024 as total business activity in December expanded at the slowest pace since last June. Commercial activity was the fastest growing area of the construction sector in December, followed by civil engineering. Residential work was again the only category to register an overall decline in output during December. House building has now decreased for 3 consecutive months, and the latest reduction was the fastest since June 2024. Total new work also expanded at the slowest rate since last June. We'll come back to the subject of Crane Hub in just a moment because I've got a couple of bits to follow up with on that particular item of news. You saw there that Buckingham Plant Hire is to host an auction with Euro Auctions on the 27th of February, so next month. I've got a list here in front of me of some of the equipment that's going to be up for sale. A couple of EC480s, both on 2020 plates. What do we got? 3 EC350s on 2020 and 2023 plates. L90H on 2017 plates. They've got 9 Cat 320s up for sale on 2020 and 2021 plates. And a pair of Cat 352s, FLMEs, 2023 and 2020 plates. It's going to be a big sale, that one, so keep an eye out for that if you're in the market for some pretty damn good excavators. I don't know Buckingham Plant Hire's track record for taking care of equipment, but there's some very young equipment there, and given all that we were talking about yesterday about the notion of retaining older machines rather than getting new ones, maybe there's something in there for you. Now, I'm going to go back to this very quickly. I'll come back to the Crane Hub thing in just a moment. Garvin at Mostly Diggers reckons it could be a Mechalak, and Peter McKenna reckons it could be a Mechalak E12. It's not a Mechalak E12, however, it is a Mechalak. So, keep the guesses coming. Let me show you a bit more. There you are. Please keep the guesses coming. Now, I mentioned the fact that obviously our construction industry news segment is now sponsored, at least at the moment, by the fine folks at Crane Hub. Well, as a result of that sponsorship, I've been spending quite a bit of time chatting to them. There's been a fair bit of discussion, and I'm delighted to tell you that we're working on a new video podcast series called Blue Collar Heroes. And as the name suggests, it's basically about you lot, basically. We haven't recorded the first episode yet, but we do have an intro and a graphic. Now, I can tell you that thus far as I'm aware, 3 people have seen this, 2 people at Crane Hub and me. However, given that we're all friends together, let me take that off the screen and let me show you how it's going to look.
The men and women working in construction shape the very world around us. They build our homes and workplaces, our roads and bridges, our schools, and our hospitals. They are blue-collar heroes, heroes that should be celebrated and revered. But all too often, the construction industry's greatest asset is undervalued. Those men and women are required to work in tough conditions that test their bodies and push their minds to breaking point. They are exposed to hazards on a daily basis, expected to work long hours, often away from family and friends. Yet, if the industry or the economy takes a turn for the worse, it is those same workers that pay the price. Blue Collar Heroes is a new transatlantic podcast, a joint venture between Demolition News in the UK and Crane Hub in the US. Its purpose is to celebrate those blue-collar heroes, to call out the challenges they face, and to give a voice to the working men and women of construction. This is Blue Collar Heroes, and here are your hosts, Megan Wood and Mark Anthony.
It's looking pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, that's going to be coming soon. We're going to record a pilot episode in the next not too distant future, hopefully within the next week or so, and then we'll be doing that on a regular basis. So lots to talk about, loads and loads of stuff to look at, but basically coming at the industry from the point of view of the operators. Now here's a thing, right? First of all, let me tell you, where is he? He's here. After quite an absence, Steve Williamson is back in our midst, and he's now known, well, he's known over on YouTube, at least as Tilt Operators Media. Morning all, long time no see. Snow day again, sitting, waiting, doing nothing, which is precisely why I'm here. Morning, Steve. Welcome back. Good to have you back in our midst. And just to show that he hasn't lost his touch in any way, shape, or form, he comes in and reckons that our mystery machine could be a Mechalac 1000. He's right. It actually is. Steve, you've got your points on the board. Let me show you, just to be absolutely clear. And as I said, my personal belief is this is one of the best looking machines on the market. I think it's probably the colour scheme that does it. But Steve Williamson, let me get my pen. I'm going to put an SW against that. So he's away for a couple of weeks, pops back in, steals the prize. Superb stuff. Now, going back to the story of, I can't actually find it now. Yes, Mick says, any reason for the sale, Mark? This is Bucky and Plant Hire. That according to the news reports that I've seen, they are claiming that the heavy market, or the heavier end of the market, is oversaturated. That's what they're saying, oversaturated. And he says, if Bucking getting out of the heavy plant game, then watch this space, as they say. They will not be the last this early in the year. Yeah, there's more detail on that if you'd like to know about it over on Construction Inquirer. As I say, I mean, I've got the plant list here. I'm sure it's on the Euro Auctions website by now. But if you'd like to know more about that, go take a look. Bucky and Plant Hire, getting out the heavy industry, or the heavy end of the industry. Go take a look. Steve says 3 months to Baum. I can't believe it. New uniform ordered yesterday. Yeah, we're drawing up a shopping list of new bits and pieces, cameras and lenses and Lord knows what. It's getting expensive. Tilt Rotators Media, this is Steve again, says, hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year. Hope Santa was good. Santa was very good to me. New West Ham shirt, new Carhartt jacket. I'm still an idiot, but I'll look pretty damn splendid. On with the show. This is kind of where the show starts, actually. So back in a moment with Develon.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
This is probably me. In fact, it's almost certainly me. Whenever I think of Develon, I tend to think of excavators, but there's more to them than that. Develon is actually a full-line manufacturer, as you're about to see. You may recall a bit earlier in the show, Peter McKenna asked me to check my WhatsApp. I didn't know what he was sending me. Apparently, he's sending me a photograph of me. It's me. Thanks for that, Peter. I've never looked so good. Going back to Steve Williamson asked what everybody got for Christmas. Mick says, I got a water bill. If that's the best Santa can do, he can F right off. Yeah, quite right. Peter McKenna says, typically I'm ill and I have 3 job offers. Now when I'm better, I'll have none. That is the way that the world works. Steve says, back to our question today, what fear have you overcome? Heights. Had to work over the side of an oil rig and up high above the drill floor. You couldn't say no or think about it. It was a job and you just had to. Sometimes, facing your fears. I didn't learn to swim until I was 14. Despite the fact that I'd been going fishing since I was about 2, finally got round to learning to swim at 14. And in the end, I'd been through swimming lessons, achieved nothing, at school and that kind of thing. In the end, I decided, you're big enough and ugly enough now. Basically went to the deep end of my pool with a couple of mates, literally ran and jumped as far away from the side as I possibly could and had to make my way back. That was it. Job done. I got a water bill. That's the best Santa. Oh, no, we've done that one. Sorry, my apologies. Christmas. I got a bottle of spiced rum. Bloody typical. I hate spiced rum. Yeah, people are learning, though. I had a couple of hampers arrive here, one of which contained some wine, which my wife was absolutely delighted about. But by and large, my hampers have been booze-free. The fine folks at Xbox did send me a bottle of gin, which I'm sure my daughter will enjoy because she's a gin drinker. Not for me, but I had a lovely hamper arrive yesterday, full of post-Christmas goodies, most of them Italian, which I'm really quite pleased about. Ken Hatcher is here as well. Morning, Ken. Chilly where he is. Chilly where everyone is today, I think. Good of you to join us, Ken. You've already missed the Mystery Machine, which was stolen from under the world's nose by that fine, upstanding gentleman and superstar, Steve Williamson. We're talking women in construction in just a moment. Well, I say we are. I'm not, but Hexagon are. Back after this. Before I show you this, I just want to hark back to this new video podcast that we've got planned with the fine folks over at Crane Hub. It's called Blue Collar Heroes. We've been very strategic about it. It's come together by accident, but we've been very strategic about it in that it will be part construction and demolition, which will be the bit I'm bringing. It'll be part crane, which is the part that Megan Wood will be bringing. It'll be part British, me, part American, Megan. But it's also going to be, obviously, as the name suggests, it'll be part male, part female. I personally believe we are way beyond the point where we need to be discussing the advent of women in construction. They're already here. A lot of them doing a damn fine job. I want to move beyond that. I don't want to be doing women in construction. I want to do people in construction, some of which happen to be women. Now, with all of that being said, Hexagon have a new video out, and they too are backing the ladies.
Heavy construction was often considered unsafe or unsuitable for women due to its physical demands, but not anymore. Digitalization and automation technology have opened up a whole new world of possibilities, not just for women, but for all who are passionate about shaping the future of infrastructure.
What matters most now, it's not the power of the arm, but the power of the mind. And this is gradually opening more and more doors for women. This is one of the reasons why I want to be part of this change.
I started as a tester, where I really got a good knowledge of system and everything, because when you go out of university as a woman especially, you don't really know a lot about excavators. So the position as a tester was quite interesting because I got a lot of domain knowledge really quickly, which also enabled me to become a software engineer just afterwards, starting as a tester.
I was always curious about how products are developed, and now I can combine my curiosity and my knowledge to create products like that.
I'm motivated by the chance to improve the way infrastructure is built and maintained.
I was inspired to make solutions more easier, more user-friendly, and also safer.
I'm a strong believer that diversity drives innovation in all fields.
I think every person does contribute uniquely because of their view, and women might have sometimes a bit of a different way of looking at things.
From marketing to product development and sales, we have colleagues all over the world to contribute to this change. We are happy to develop technology for our customers that not just increases productivity and efficiency, but also contributes to a more inclusive culture where talent thrives irrespective of gender.
Machine control helps us to reach the precision required to pave 38 kilometers long in route number 5 in Uruguay.
Nuestra participación es fundamental debido a que aportamos diversidad de pensamiento, comunicación, trabajo en equipo.
Creo que las mujeres trabajamos con mayor pasión por lo mismo. Quizá en el trabajo de fuerza nos cueste un poco más. Sin embargo, tratamos de buscar soluciones, hacemos todo meticulosamente.
Tecnologías que nos ayuden a la detección de peligros, equipos de protección personal mejorados y automatización y maquinaria inteligente.
Vi upplever att det de senaste åren har kommit in fler kvinnor i branschen, vilket vi tycker är jätteroligt, och mottagandet vi fått har varit väldigt positivt. För att komma in behöver du vara positiv, våga ta chansen och vilja lära dig.
So one of the things that makes you wonder why not more women are using excavators is because we actually build a lot better for excavators than my male co-workers are, for example, because I'm the only one who can actually stand up inside of the cabin without having to swing down. So that's quite nice.
Just do it and don't feel afraid of going into the construction industry.
Embrace your passion, be confident, and educate yourself in this domain.
I would highly recommend that women follow their passions or their dreams, and if this is in construction site, just go with the flow and do it.
Let's work together to create a more diverse and dynamic industry, because strength and skills knows no gender.
Género no debería limitarnos en el tema de la ingeniería ni en el ámbito de la construcción. Y con dedicación podemos llegar a ser exitosas en este campo.
We are not just witnessing the change, but we are driving it. Join us on this journey, and together we will rock the construction world.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm here to be rocked. More ladies, that's what we need. Well, in actual fact, I'm just going to hark back. He doesn't talk a lot of sense because, he is a crane driver, but Tristan Mays, we were talking about women in construction the other day. And one of the things that he said was, I don't care who I work beside, so long as they're competent. It shouldn't be a case of we need women in construction. It should be we need the best people in construction. If they happen to be women, so be it. I'm with him entirely. Couple of comments on all things skirt related in just a moment. I'm going to throw you this one up first of all. There's some amazing cranes coming out lately. Check out Crane Hub. If you want to know about cranes, they've got their finger on the pulse. Steve Williamson says, I don't think wearing a skirt will be very health and safety, says the man that got married in a kilt. I know it's not a skirt. Don't come at me. But he also says, woman or man shouldn't be any divide. We're all human, can do whatever we want as a job. Quite right as well. Mick says, this may sound petty. I don't think it is, because I was told exactly the same thing, bizarrely, about sitting at a desk typing. I learned a long time ago, never have your legs crossed when operating a machine. Sorry, just an observation on the film. I think in a machine, probably a health and safety thing, making sure you've got control of all the pedals. With me, circulation. Can't sit here with my legs crossed because my feet go numb and then I fall over, which is only funny for those that witness it. Peter says that skirt is a health and safety issue. Yeah, listen, I'm sure she wore it purely for the video. Jim Turner, obviously the countries of the world are all at different levels where they place women in society, but as far as the Western world, we need to be gender, colour, race, sensuality, I think that's sexuality, religion blind as far as employees and work colleagues are concerned. Here, Mr. Turner, and judge people on their ability, work ethic and general attitude. Then we have a fair and just society. He gets my vote for Prime Minister yet again. Thank you very much indeed for that, Jim. But you're absolutely right. Who gives a toss? What possible difference does it make if the person working alongside you is gay, straight, male, female, black, white, Catholic or Jewish? So long as they're good at their job, who really gives a toss? Not me. That's for sure. We've got more to bring you. Yeah, we've got a bit of a look back at 2024 with AF Gruppen in a second. So bear with me.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
We've just had a health and safety advisory note from Steve Williamson. I'm not entirely sure this is official. However, it is my duty to share it with you. He says, long skirts don't really fall into the correct fitted PPE. Needs to be tighter and a lot shorter. Then it's safe. Just saying. Okay, Steve, thank you for that. Yes, I've mentioned this before. There are, I love all contractors by and large. There are one or two exceptions, but by and large, I like them all. But there are a few that really stand out for me. Cardem in France, Despe in Italy, Priestley over in Canada. And my personal favourite, and there are others out there, personal favourite in Norway is AF Gruppen because they do stuff like this. corker of a film. As Steve Williamson says, they all look so happy to be at work. Wish it was like that here in the UK. I wish it was like that too. But then, if ever you get 5 minutes to yourself, go and have a look at basically the way that the Norwegians live. I know we always say that the Japanese are living in the future. The Norwegians have created a society that works. They really have, including being happy at work. Mick says, going back to the subject of women in construction, sat and watched a lot of films on construction. I don't know if it's just me, but when you look at the blokes on site being told by a female what to do, just look at their faces. There's a lot of resentment, even if the blokes are laughing about it. I'm sure there is. I'm sure every other industry sector has seen an influx of women. Get over it. They'll have to get over it. You know, if somebody is good enough at their job to be promoted to a position above you, then they're good enough. I'm beyond it now. I'm exactly the same when we first started having female football pundits. I realised it's a very petty thing, but I realised after a few months of bemoaning the fact that I was bemoaning it based on tradition. I was used to turning on Match of the Day and seeing 3 hairy-ass blokes. Seeing some women doesn't actually make any difference, particularly the likes of, I'll single out Alex Scott. If you watch football coverage, Alex Scott played football for a woman at the very highest level that women can play. Knows every bit as much as some of the football pundits that are sporting the testicles. So, yeah. If they refuse to listen to their gang, then sack them. The rest will learn to listen or leave. Either way it works. I totally agree. Going back to all things crane related, I'm not turning this into a crane show because I don't want to tread on the toes of my new podcast partners, but a fatal accident on Monday in Harare, Zimbabwe occurred. A 300-ton all-terrain crane dismantling a large freestanding tower crane. We understand that the deceased was a tower crane rigger working for the company commissioned to install and remove the crane. Not good at all. And there's a bit more news. Again, I'm not going to dwell on that one because I'll leave that to Messrs. Wood and Mays. They take care of all of that. That's going to pretty much round up the show for this morning. My apologies once again if you were here at the beginning for the disaster that ensued. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again tomorrow. So yes, that's about us done. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second. I'm then going to leap gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, do please stay safe. And perhaps more importantly, well, equally importantly, should I say, stay warm, for 'tis freezing out there. If you can't stick around, please do stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I shall return forthwith. When faced with an existential threat, the default reaction of human beings throughout history has been to unite and pull together. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the nation rallied almost as one. Sure, there were outliers who shunned the vaccination, were ambushed by Craic, or who held parties that weren't parties at number 10 Downing Street. Nonetheless, we came together to fight an invisible foe. We came together during the Second World War too. While men of a fighting age were off facing down the enemy, those who stayed at home were a part of the fight too. From the land girls keeping up food production, to the factory workers making arms, to those serving in the Home Guard, all were fighting for the common good. The National Federation of Demolition Contractors' very foundation is built upon a possibly apocryphal tale in which Winston Churchill himself called upon London's demolition contractors to unite as one to make safe the buildings damaged during the Blitz. As I said at the outset, existential threat, we all pull together. At least that's how things have traditionally worked. Today, we find ourselves facing perhaps the greatest threat our world has ever seen: climate change. Once again, there are outliers who point to a cold summer day as evidence that climate change is, hot air. But most right-minded people, those who believe the earth is round, that Elvis is dead, and that we're not all controlled by Bill Gates and his 5G masks, we all believe that global warming is bad, very bad, that it's getting worse, and that we need to do something about it. But here's where our reaction has differed. Rather than uniting to fight this common enemy, we all seem to be huddled in little silos, each of us doing a little bit, but none of us actually making any notable impact. And nowhere is this more evident than in the field of demolition and construction. There's a little silo of people who believe that demolition should be outlawed and that refit and refurbishment will save us all. There's another silo that believes that the demolition industry's ability to reclaim secondary materials makes it an environmental warrior in its own right. Some think we should abandon diesel and petrol equipment and vehicles. Others point to the environmental and financial cost of switching to unwieldy electric and unproven hydrogen power. As an industry, we're all facing the same global threat, but we're all heading off in different directions and often opposing directions as well. The result is that climate change remains, while real solutions remain just out of reach. The irony here is that this goes against just about everything that the demolition and construction industry stands for. Ours is a sector that stands or falls upon its ability to collaborate, from joint venture organisations forged to deliver massive infrastructure projects to dozens of specialist contractors pooling their resources to deliver a building, a bridge, a road. Yet when it comes to fighting climate change, it seems to be every man for himself. Sadly, and predictably, I fear the main reason for this is money. Clients and main contractors will not consider adopting a new approach or new methodology if it's likely to cost more time or more money. Companies are unwilling to invest in electric machines because they require charging time, and while a machine is on charge, it's not earning. They're focused on the now and on their share price today, not tomorrow, and they will likely remain so even when the water is lapping around the door of their palatial head office. Yet it could all be so very different. If individual companies, individual disciplines, and individual industry sectors could, just for a moment, set aside their burning desire for competitive advantage, we're smart enough to see off this existential threat. Amidst the dog-eat-dog world of demolition and construction, there resides some incredibly smart and incredibly practical people. People who are smart enough to steer us away from the environmental precipice. Smart enough to devise systems and solutions that walk the tightrope between a blanket ban on demolition and the desire to preserve embodied carbon. But those people, smart as they are, can't fight this foe alone, nor can they fight it on numerous conflicting fronts. So surely this is the time for hands across the water, for unity, for coming together for a common cause. The threat posed by climate change is every bit as bad as that posed by the Luftwaffe, by AIDS, by COVID-19. Each of those was defeated, partially or completely, through unity and collaboration. We desperately need that unity again. The path forward doesn't actually require grandiose declarations or unattainable ideals. It requires practical steps, open communication, and a willingness to collaborate beyond traditional boundaries. Small, concerted efforts made collectively can lead to significant change. We need to tap into the ingenuity and resilience that have defined our industry and use it to carve out a sustainable future. Individually, we're lost, but together, we could find a way. That's me being all green for the day. If anybody's got anything to say on all of that, that was inspired. I can't name the person. I had a long chat with an engineer yesterday, a construction engineer, who was basically sounding me out about the demolition take on the whole embodied carbon thing, and a lot of what was being said. It did appear that they over in construction were doing their thing. We over here in demolition are doing our thing. We're both heading in roughly the same direction, but we're both going about it in completely different ways. And we're doing that purely because we don't bother to pick up the bloody phone and sit down and chat to each other. So that's my take on it. Lots of chat over in the chat. So let's have a look. Peter McKenna is apparently becoming our news anchor. Xwatch has notched up its 5,000th installation. I had a press release on that. Couldn't find room for it, but thank you for that, Peter. Chris Ford says, just like being at home, a woman telling you what to do. Oh, I'm familiar with that. Hercules. Peter, you should start your own show. Hercules Site Services decided to quit the suction excavator market to focus on its core business of labour supply. Chris Ford says, missed a lot of the show today. Phone hasn't stopped. Yeah, it's available on catch up. And hopefully by the time you see it, I may have actually done away with the bit that cocked up at the beginning. Mick says, Mark, I think Peter is looking for a job with you as a sub-editor. I could bloody use one sometimes. Did you see the SpaceX rocket landing back from where it took off and being caught? Awesome. I did. It was. Just a shame Elon Musk is such a bumhole. There, I said it. Chris Ford, Elon, I know you're a huge fan of this show. When you are de facto a president of the United States, please don't come at me. I know you're a bumhole, but please don't. What was the mission machine? I got as far as Mechalac, but didn't find out the model. I can tell you it is a 1000. It's their emissions-free machine, the 1000L. And Steve Williamson romped home with the victory there. The A9 dual carriageway job apparently have every machine fitted with the shield. You can come near until you press a button to change it to a thumbs up. Front and cab facing cameras fitted too, as it should be. Well, I say as it should be. Given our inability or our unwillingness to actually plan projects that keep men and machines out of each other's way, good. I still think we could do more with planning, but such is life. If they had the training of workers sorted out years ago, it wouldn't be like this shit. I renew my CPS 2 touchscreen test. Couldn't believe that's all it was. No practical. Yeah. There was I wish I'd kept it, actually, and I may try and find it. Somebody on LinkedIn was saying about the fact that, and it's something we've talked about here on the show on a number of occasions, the fact that competence cards are not a legal requirement. All it needs is for somebody to stand up and fight it in the court. Now, I can't imagine a single operator choosing to do that, even though the loss of grandfather rights has pushed a lot of people to the margins. But I do wonder about some kind of what the Americans refer to as a class action, get 20, 30, 50, 100 operators together, get one, no win, no fee, hungry solicitor to stand up in court and say, CPCS, CSCS, on your bike, fellas. We're not playing ball. Musk and Trump, now that's a double act. Right pair of pricks as far as I'm concerned. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And they are worse than the sum of their parts. I mean, I think Donald Trump is one of the most objectionable human beings ever to contaminate the planet Earth. But he seems worse when Elon Musk is about. Can we stop climate change? Is it just a cycle that's out of our control? Did we stop famine or just subsidize it? Are the people now self-sufficient? No, they're not. My personal feeling is that's not how we should be looking at it. It's like that thing, and again, this is related to climate change. Why should I separate my recycling if my next door neighbour refuses? Why should we knock down all our fossil fuel power stations here in the UK when China is still belching smoke into the atmosphere? I think if you took that attitude across the board, we'd all be dead within 20 years. Yeah, I think everybody that can should do what they can. And let's be honest, we are talking about a potentially planet ending or a human life ending catastrophe here. And I, as I say, I came away from this conversation yesterday with this engineer, feeling somewhat empowered and inspired and everything. And the first thing that came into my mind was, we decided, I say we, government decided to go to war with Nazi Germany back in whenever it was. And the entire country went, yep. Yeah, land girls and home guards and all the other bits and pieces that went with it. We all rallied behind a single cause. To a large degree, I think we did exactly the same thing with COVID. And as I say, I know there were outliers and there are people that thought it was some kind of mass conspiracy theory. But by and large, the nation united, in fact, the world united. We do have that capability. It's whether we actually have the will. I wonder what the operator tests are like in Sweden, America, or Australia. Well, maybe that's one of the things we can touch on with Megan Wood when we finally start to do the Blue Collar Heroes podcast. I'll keep you posted on that. Peter says, but Mick, if you follow Musk on Twitter, lots of UK-based peeps actually agree with everything he says. Yes, but there's lots of UK peeps that agree with everything that Tommy Robinson says, that Nigel Farage says. And frankly, you know, if Elon Musk wants to get back in my good books, having been the Bond villain, wannabe Bond villain for the last 2 years, create a version of your SpaceX rocket that we can load Farage, Robinson, Piers Morgan into and fire them off into space. One-way ticket to the moon. Peter, I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. Man is an egomaniac. Ain't that the truth? And do we really want an egomaniac pulling the strings of the most powerful man in the world? I don't think we do. If we stopped emitting greenhouse gases today, the rising global temperatures will begin to flatten within a few years. However, temperatures will remain well elevated for many centuries. It's not a quick fix, but we could buy ourselves some time. You know, and again, I mean, I'm obviously this is a demolition and construction show, so that's why I'm focused on that. But if we could all just put aside, well, I'm a piling contractor, I'm a demolition contractor, I'm a ground worker, just put all of that to one side for a moment and say, actually, we're all in this together. Let's get our heads together and decide what is the best way forward. Steve says, climate change, in my opinion, won't ever change. The UK alone is a smidge in the world of countries that are 10 times more polluted. America isn't changing anytime soon, and China won't. But that's, to my mind, you know, what my mum used to say. If your friends jumped off a cliff, would you? No, I wouldn't, because, you know. And I think it's exactly the same. Exactly the same things. Why trade with countries that you consider to be killing us all? Again, let's go back to the point that we were making yesterday on this new versus old. And I have to say, by the way, that new versus old article that I put on LinkedIn yesterday got a lot of traction. Lots of people seem to be enjoying that. So thank you for all your input on that. The recap as well was very good as well, but I'll come back to that. We've created a global system whereby, you know, we're buying our electronics from China and our steel from Sweden and our bits from there and our bits from there, and we're assembling them there and then we're shipping them off. If we are to genuinely make a difference in terms of the environment, we need to do something different. And I know Jim talked about local manufacture. Here's a point. We're currently in the throes of this investigation by the government into potential dumping of excavators here in the UK market by Chinese manufacturers. And they're talking about tariffs and everything else. I've been down this road before, first with the Japanese manufacturers and then secondly with the Korean manufacturers or the South Korean manufacturers. And in both instances, their solution to it was to set up manufacturing facilities here in Europe to avoid tariffs. Financial tariffs, to avoid tariffs, to save themselves some money. They set up factories here in the UK in the case of Komatsu, in Belgium and the Netherlands in the cases of Hyundai and who else is over there? Doosan, Develon, people like that. So Bobcat as well over in the Czech Republic. So to avoid those tariffs, money, they set up at a huge expense European production and manufacturing facilities. Why can they not do the same for the greater good of the planet? You know, if you're building machines in China, but you want to sell in the UK, why not build them either in the UK or build them in Europe? You avoid the tariffs and you also stop us shipping bits and pieces around the world at enormous environmental and financial cost. Would that not be a sensible way forward? VVIP Pra, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, says hello. Hello to you as well. Where are you? Is that Vivip? Vivip Prashant, possibly? Are you in India? Am I just doing that with an accent in my head? I don't know, but let us know where you are. But good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Jim, goes back to what I said yesterday. If nature gets the hump, she will then take care of it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we said earlier about being afraid of our wives. Maybe we should be a bit more afraid of Mother Earth. Flat Earth, yeah, the Flat Earth Society with branches around the globe. I'll leave you to get the joke. They're probably all looking at the UK and thinking, what the fuck are they doing? Probably laughing at us. Do you know, I did have a conversation, and I won't name names, but I had I was at a conference some time ago, and I was sat beside a US demolition contractor that I've known for a long time, and he was asking about things like competence cards. And I was saying about how the NDTG runs it, and certainly in the demolition sphere, and how it's a cash cow and everything else. And you could see his eyes lighting up. And I actually said, but you do realise, yes, it does bring in lots of money, but you do realise the other side of it. And I don't know whether he actually took that away or thought, not entirely sure. The Romans grew grapes in Yorkshire and beyond because it was warmer year on year over 1,000 years ago. It's a cycle we should learn to adapt to. We won't change it, says Jim. We're doomed. I'm sure he didn't do it with that accent. 1 week of pollution in the UK is one launch of a SpaceX rocket. Yeah, but you can see why he's doing it, can't you? That's his escape pod. Either when the polar ice cap finally melts and bits of America are completely underwater, or when the American public finally wake up and smell the roses and realise we're being run by a bloody lunatic, and he's kicked out of the country. Where does he seek refuge? He's off to the moon. That's what it is. China now has 243 gigawatts of coal power under construction and permitted. When projects currently announced are in the preparation stage but not yet permitted are included, this number rises to 392 gigawatts. You can only control what you can control. All I would say is that if in order to bring the Chinese into line environmentally, that means that we need to tax them based not just upon their the low cost of their equipment, but upon the fact that they are greatly polluting the Earth's atmosphere, then what's the technical term? Fuck them. Don't put up with it. Don't buy your electronics from there. Don't buy your steel from there. Don't buy anything from there. If they're going to pollute the planet and pollute the air that you breathe, and the air that is being breathed by your offspring, fuck them. We've had a question here from a man named Rafferty Smith. Have you heard of Industrial Engines Limited in Grimsby? I have not, Mr. Smith. Who are they? Why should I have heard of them? Please share away. Missiles captured that were fired by Russia apparently are built in China but have UK and USA components inside. Yes, the arms business is a very, very unpleasant business. We tend to arm those that at some point in the next 5 years we'll be fighting against. I'd like to know how they make any brand of electric machine, building an electric vehicle while polluting the world. That's about the size of it. That is about the size of it. I agree with Jim, says Steve. Steve, 2022, Kalau oil spill, ventilator of death. Good Lord. Fossil fuels, of course. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to read all of that because it's a lot. Got Sky News on silent on TV. You on here and Peter chucking bits and pieces in the chat. Mind, head, fucking spinning. My apologies. It's a lot, isn't it? Peter McKenna says, I've collected from Industrial Engines in Grimsby. Who in tarnation are Industrial Engines? Let me take a very quick look. I might be about to give them a bit of free advertising. I don't. Is that them? Can't see if this is the one in Grimsby. Bear with me. Well, just talk amongst yourselves. Yes, it is Grimsby. Hang on a second. Let me put this on the screen for you so you can all see what Industrial Engines are all about. It's that button there, it's that button there, and it's that button there. There you are. That is what Industrial Engines are all about, apparently. Industrial Engines, family business, founded in 1978 by the current owners, supply a huge range of new, used, and reconditioned diesel engines. Browse our range today, and there is the range that you can browse. If you'd like to go and have a look at that, they are basically industrialenginesuk.com. What was his name? Rafferty Smith. Rafferty Smith, you owe me some advertising money. But thank you for joining us. On WhatsApp, says Peter. What's he done on WhatsApp now? I think he's showing me the very thing that I've just shown you. Bear with me 1 second. Yes, he is. There you are. There you are. On WhatsApp. The amount of fuel a cruise ship burns depends on its size and power, but a large cruise ship can use up to 80,645 gallons of fuel per day. Wow. I've got to be honest with you. I saw something about that recently, and it's not just the fact that it burns a huge amount of fuel, but it burns a huge amount of not particularly clean fuel as well. They call it grey fuel or something like that. I mentioned on this show just before flying to Las Vegas for the Mine Expo show, I was going there to report on all things sustainability and zero emissions, and yet I was flying halfway around the world to do it. And I did have a bit of a pang of guilt. Got to say, I've got exactly the same feeling when it comes to cruise ships. My wife and I have been on half a dozen cruises over the past 10 years or thereabouts. Absolutely love them. Really do love them. But it is a hard one to justify. It is a hard one to justify. I reckon we considered them for a reconditioned 3152 a few years ago at Hillhead. There you are, Industrial Engines. Industrial Engines, Rafferty Smith, which is Rafferty Smith, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, sounds like the villain in a Sherlock Holmes movie. Rafferty Smith, master burglar. But Rafferty Smith, you've heard the feedback you've had here. I think you should be an advertiser. Get on the blower, get an advert booked. Peter McKenna say they supply JCB engines. They do indeed. Industrial Engines have been mentioned on the show before. Great company run by Jim and is that Jim and Ham Smith? Ham? Is that a name? Is it short for something? You like me really, Mick? Yeah, I'm sure he does. Anyway, folks, that's about the size of it for today. That's more than an hour of your time. Fantastic to welcome Steve Williamson back into the fold. Missed him terribly. But as he's come back, Gary Muirhead apparently wasn't here today. Last I heard, and this is absolutely true, last I heard he was up a mountain in the snow. He may still be there, but I'm sure he'll be back at some point in the not too distant future. Lots to look forward to, as I say, including our new Blue Collar Heroes podcast, which I will be working on just as soon as I stop doing this show. We'll get that first episode recorded. All things being equal, we're planning to actually launch it with 3 episodes already in the can. So when you've watched or listened to one, you can then listen to another and then another. So that's the plan. I'll keep you posted on all of that. But I'll be back here tomorrow for more of the same. Question of the day, mystery machine, rant of the day, stuff. You all know the format by now, and hopefully the intro will work properly tomorrow as well. And apparently Rafferty Smith is a director. My apologies for calling you the master burglar, Rafferty. In that case, Mr. Smith, sir, please may I have some advertising? Just a thought. Mick says, stay safe, fellas. Me and the hound off to the pub before the snow comes, if it comes. I've got the same weather app going on here. I looked at it this morning, and it said that we were likely to get some snow around about 4 o'clock this afternoon, apparently. So, you should be feeling no pain by that time. 8 barrels of oil to use in a Tesla. Is that in the manufacture? I'm assuming it probably is. Anywho, people, go and have a fine and splendid day. I'll be back tomorrow for yet more of the same. Till then, look after yourselves. Stay warm. Be back soon.